We are doing an engine swap on this 1990 GMC. It is a very clean looking truck. The only problem is it has a 4.3 liter, which I say is a problem, but it's not really a problem. It's just not a V8. And what we have here is a GM new 350 long block. So basically we bolt all the goodies onto it, which are going to be a Performer throttle body intake manifold from Eldebrock, some Hedman headers, but there is part number for these. They're supposed to be a ceramic coating. We have new motor mounts because the motor mounts are different from the V8 to the 4.3. We have a different water pump, spark plug wires, plugs, intake gasket, exhaust manifold bolts, and a filter, and a monster. So this whole truck has, well, getting a reflection there, but 100,027 miles on it. It is pretty much bone stock from the way it came from the dealer. All the panels good. Everything's nice on it. And underneath the engine, underneath the hood, which I'm gonna have to remove this hood to pull this motor. So you have a 4.3 liter. It's not horrible, but they really just didn't create much power. They're not good for towing. Not gonna pull a lot. This one is the computer controlled ignition, so we're gonna have to buy a PROM chip for the computer to let it know that it has a V8 in it. And the mounts are in the wrong spot on this. Other than that, all of the accessories on the front are supposed to swap over. So we will see how that works out. I'm going to go ahead and get this on a lift. We're going to have to start disconnecting the exhaust, taking wires loose, and getting the hood off, and get it ready to have this motor pulled out. On top of, we're going to have to get this one ready to go in. And I'm also doing a disc brake conversion kit on the back of this. It has drum brakes if you can't see it. So I will do a separate video on converting this 90 Chevy over to disc brakes. Okay, this is the underside of the truck. Looks like 700 R4. And I'm going to start off by taking these brackets loose here that go to the motor mount. And then I'm going to take this torque converter cover off and the starter out. We got to get the radiator hose loose. We got the fan shroud out of the way, the fan and the pulley for the water pump. And we have taken all the wiring off the top, the alternator, injector wires, AC wires, and I just took the bracket loose that held all the map sensor and little vacuum solenoid stuff, and just ran it and hang it up over the transmission fill dipstick. So as far as wiring goes, we've taken everything loose except for, I think, one little oil pressure sensor down there behind, and I think I'm gonna have to do that from the underside. And I gotta took these loose, the linkages, and I gotta take the bracket loose. so we can just lift all that up and out of the way. And for the AC, I'm not sure it's charged. If it's rusty, I don't know that that's very good, but we may drain it, or we're going to take this whole bracket off the front of the motor and hold it up to the side over here. Alright, right now we're trying to get the bracket loose on the fuel line. Have a wobbly end adapter and about a 2-foot extension. You can see where I'm at on the transmission. You just feed it up through there and you can set it right on the bolt. Alright, so you can see up there, right there, that was the bracket holding the gas line. Got it loose, so that's gonna come off. I went ahead and took the bolt out of the transmission on the very top on that side and on this side over here. So all we lack is this bolt, one up above there, and this one, and one up above there. Now I'm going to go ahead and start taking this exhaust loose, which pretty sure these bolts are probably going to break off. So either way, we can't reuse this. We have headers and they're going to come down back this way. So I'm going to take that loose and probably cut it about here. Alright, went ahead and drained down the AC, took that loose. This whole front side power steering is taken off. Everything up top is taken loose, the brackets. All we have left to do is pull the motor mount bolts, torque converter bolts, and 4 bolts on the back side of the transmission. But it is pretty late tonight. It is about 2:30, almost 3. I'm gonna finish putting up some of the stuff here and we'll come back in the morning and hook up the chain hoist and pull the rest of the bolts. Alright, so to make this easier, I'm going to go ahead and pull the transmission, which we already have the exhaust out of the way. Basically, I'm going to take 1 bolt loose here, 2 to get the cross member out of the way there and there. The torque converter bolts, I only got 4 bolts holding the transmission in right now. The linkage, a little bit of wiring, not much, and we're going to pull the drive shaft out. To do this to make it easier and not have to fight matching these up from the new one, because we got to get in here and change stuff. I don't want this transmission just hanging. Right now I'm going to have the engine supported on the back side here, because it's going to try to tip when we take all this loose. Okay, one more step closer. So now we got to pull 2 motor mount bolts and drag that motor up and out of it. Okay, we got the motor out, and so far everything is interchangeable. The flywheel bolts up to the back of the 350. Your little oil pressure sensor up here goes in the same spot. Now we have an Eldebrock intake. I am waiting on gaskets, so this is loose. And I gotta figure out where I'm gonna mount this coil if we don't mount it to the firewall possibly. brackets, bolts for the intake manifold should work on this one. You're going to have a little bit different position of your throttle bracket, so I may have to modify that when it goes in. I'm going to put it up there and see. If I have to change it, I'll change it. But your throttle, the tube here is a little bit more kinked over. Your intake does, but we have a new one. We're going to put a new one on there. Now, you have a knock sensor down here. The 350 has 2 of them, I think, or a spot for 2 of them. We only got 1 off of this V6. Now, the crate motor does not come with a dipstick, so we have that on order. We have Hedman headers over there that are going to go on this. And your PCV valve, we might have to change a little bit here. But as far as I know, the injectors are different, so we may end up switching these out. But your throttle body is the same from the 350 to the V6. And all your front mounting accessories are the same, and they will bolt up. Your pulley off of that one bolts up to this one. Your water pump is the same, but we opted to put a brand new water pump on it. AC compressor, everything, all the brackets line up and bolt up. Now this idler pulley is going to get changed. It's a little noisy, but what does not work on these is your motor mounts. So these are placed farther back for the V6 so it can bolt up to the transmission. On the V8, the motor mounts are farther forward and the rubber bushing part bolts to the frame where these bolts are at, 2 there and then 1 up here. So I'm going to grind these off. These are bolts going through with loose nuts on the other side, so you can't just unbolt them. So I'm going to have to grind those off. But other than that, I'm trying to find some engine side brackets, which is kind of becoming hard to find. I can find them on eBay, but we'll see. I'm probably going to call some junkyards, but they don't sell new ones of these that I have found yet. So I'm going to try going to the junkyard and source some of those. But other than that, this is where we're at on this truck right now. And this is the end of the weekend, so I got to get all this stuff cleared up, tools put up, and ready for work this week for other jobs. And we'll have this back in here next weekend, hopefully putting this motor in and getting this finished up. So if you want to follow along, hit the like button and subscribe and turn on notifications so you get an update when I upload the next video on this. We're also doing a rear disc brake conversion on it. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.